Hey guys, how's it going? Yuri here. Welcome to this special training. I'm going to be walking you through the only two ways to get clients if you are starting or even scaling your business, to be honest with you. But this training is specifically for you if you are starting your coaching business, if you want to get your first, dozen or so clients and you're just getting things off the ground up and running, okay? So I think this will really find you well. I'd love to know your thoughts and comments throughout this training. Just let me know in the comments below this video, and we'll take it from there. Cool. So let's start off by, well, first and foremost, let's talk about the two ways to build your business. So if I were to, I'm just going to share this with you on the screen here. Hopefully you can see this. If this is a graph, and this graph depicts your trajectory over time, what's happening here, and first and foremost, if you can just let me know if you can see this on the screen. I think you can, that'd be awesome, just so I'm not wasting my time. But I think you can see this. So just let me double check if this is showing up properly before I go any further, because I have made the mistake of doing this in the past, and you never know what happens, right? Okay, so it is showing up properly. That's good. Okay, so there's two things that happen. Let's just say that this is your starting point. Okay, so you're starting in business. This is ground zero right about here. So typically what happens is when you are starting off, you tend to have not so much money, and over time, well, that's not what I wanted. Over time, what happens is you start earning more money, right? But initially, when you're starting your business, you don't have a ton of capital backing you, right? So you're bootstrapping it, and you're taking in one client at a time, paycheck to paycheck, month to month, and eventually things start to ramp up. Now, what does this time frame look like? I don't know. It could be 6 months for you. It could be 10 years. It really depends. But this is generally what happens if you're building a good business, right? You'll make money over time. So initially, you don't have a lot of money. Ultimately, you have a lot more money down the road, okay? So that's the first facet. Now, the second facet, or the second asset that you initially have, you have a lot more of, and over time, it tends to go down. Not all the time, but generally for most people it does. And that is time and energy. When you are starting your business, you have two options. You either use money or you use your time and energy. Those are the only two things you can use, the only two resources you can use. If we think of, let's just look at money for a second. So if you have money, you can invest in ads, you can invest in technology, you can invest in people to help you scale quickly. But if you don't have a lot of money to start, you have to do everything yourself. There's no other way, and I want to be very clear with you about that. So you have to be using your time and energy to start off. When I started my business in 2006, it was me at my kitchen table in my 800 square foot apartment with my dog's pee pad right beside me. And I was just cranking away. But the thing is, I was doing a lot of stuff that was naive. I didn't know better. And I want to share with you what to do instead so you don't waste years doing stuff that I did and waste your time. So I'm saying you have to use your time and energy to start your business, but you need to be doing the right things with that time and energy, because as you know, there's a lot of different ways you can be using your time and energy. I'm going to show you the smartest way to do so. Does that make sense? So one of the things you might be up against right now, there might be a few challenges that you're dealing with. And I'm just going to see if I can get my screen in there. There we go. So let's see if we can get both of these on the screen. That's pretty good. Pretty good. Okay, so one of the challenges right now that you might be dealing with is you might be sharing content, right? Blogging, YouTube, podcasting perhaps. But the thing is that content marketing takes a long time. My blog gets 1 million visitors per month. It took 10 years to get there. I don't recommend you do any of that because it's a complete waste of time. And had I known what I know now in 2006 when I started online, I would have shaved off 9.5 years. So content marketing takes a long time, especially with all the Google algorithm changes and especially in the health market where they have penalized websites that are not MDs necessarily. That's a big thing. The second thing you might be dealing with is the fact that you possibly could be climbing the wrong ladder, which means you're following certain advice. Maybe it's have a blog, right? Maybe it's spend all your time on Instagram. I don't know. And maybe the ladder is up against the wrong wall. So you're climbing, and you're doing all this stuff, but maybe you're climbing the wrong ladder, which means you're busy, but you're doing the wrong thing. And that can be frustrating and sometimes disheartening to hear, especially if you've been putting in a lot of effort. Okay, that might not be your case, but it might be. The other thing too is that you might not even know what to do. So you have no direction, you've got no plan, and it's just like you're just throwing darts at the wall. And that, like, listen, if that's the case you're in, listen, it's not your fault. That's just the way it is, right? You only know what you know. As a result of all this, you probably have few clients, or probably none, because you have no predictable way or no systematic way of bringing clients into your world. Does that make sense? So that's, kind of it's a very common position for a lot of people, a lot of coaches to be in when they're starting to build their coaching business, especially using the internet to do so. What I want to share with you next are, if you get this right, okay, so if you get this stuff right, I want to share a couple really cool opportunities with you. So when you are starting your business, again, we're using time and energy because we have to. There's not a ton of money to throw around. But if you use your time and energy correctly, here are a few things that can lay in store for you. Number one, you can build authority much faster. And authority is really important because the more authority you have, the more influence you have. And if you can build Kim Kardashian level influence, then you can start to do some pretty cool things, right? Now, obviously you're probably more well-intentioned, or maybe you have just better things to share with the world than Kim Kardashian. But the idea is that if you can build your celebrity, build your authority, you're going to have an easier time growing your business. Okay, so that's one of the things that can happen this doesn't happen overnight. This happens over time, but it's a really important thing to start crafting into all of the marketing that you do. The other thing is, when we do things properly, we become top of mind. And when you are top of mind with your audience, what that means is when they think of this or this problem or this solution, they think of you. And the reason for that is because you're constantly top of mind for that audience. When Donald Trump was running for president, regardless of your political tendencies, when he was running for office, about 8 months before he was elected, I told my wife, he's going to win the election. And the only reason that I felt that was because he was top of mind all the time. Good or bad, he was in the media. Now, I'm not saying you have to do bad things or become, like Donald Trump, but the more you can share your value and help your audience in an intelligent way, and again, I'm not saying you have to be on Instagram 24/7. Let's just be clear about that. I'm going to be sharing how to do this over the next couple of days. But if you can share your stuff with your audience in a way that is continually in front of them, without you spending 24 hours a day glued to your computer, now you are top of mind so that when they are looking for that solution, they think of you. Does that make sense? Now, as a result of that, that gives you more peace of mind. Because now you're following a system that you know systematically is putting yourself and your value in front of your target market. And it gives you peace of mind knowing that you are building goodwill and building value within your target audience to the point where when they are ready, and this is the key, not everyone's ready now, but when they are ready, they are going to think of you as the go-to solution. Prime example. Last Thursday, I got a message on Facebook from a gentleman who I've never even spoken with, maybe once via Messenger before. And he had said, listen, I just finished my certification in the functional medicine stuff. I'm ready to get started. Let's do this. He had never had a phone call with us. We have, never really engaged with him. And he was telling me that he had been listening and watching my stuff for about a year, 1 year. And he knew that once he was ready, he wanted to join our HBA program, which is our mid-tier program, higher level coaching. And as of this morning, he enrolls. And that's a really cool thing that can happen, which is because I was consistently adding value in some way, shape, or form, podcast, videos, etc., that once he was ready, I was top of mind, and it gave me peace of mind because I'm not having to stress about chasing people down. And the very same thing can happen for you as well in your business. It's really cool. Fourth thing that can happen is you use your energy and your time intelligently. Because listen, we know that, remember up here, you have to use this. You don't have the money to blow, and I'm not saying blow, but invest in your business now. So you have to be using time and energy. You have no other option. You can't outsource, you can't bring people in. That's a money thing, right? Now it's you. So when you are doing things the right way, you're essentially using your energy and your time in a way that matters. And as a result of that, you're able to bring in more leads and more clients and ultimately more money, okay? So those are some of the things that are in store as you build this out the right way. So far, so good. I hope this makes sense. Okay, so there's one more model that I want to share with you, and that has to do with your marketing. So with marketing, let's look at it this way. We have 4 quadrants. And at the top, we want to think of this being good. So consistent, you're consistent with your marketing. Let me just move this over a little bit so this thing fits on the screen. All right, so we are consistent with our marketing. Now the opposite of consistent would be sporadic. And sporadic is not ideal, right? On the right-hand side, we're going to look at effective. Hopefully that fits in. And on the left-hand side, the opposite is ineffective. So we have marketing that is consistent and effective, or sporadic and ineffective, right? Those are kind of the 2 polar opposites. So what does this all look like when it's in play? If we have marketing that is ineffective and sporadic, here's the result of that. The result of that is crickets. Like not actual crickets, like cricket protein powder, not that. Like nothing happens. It's crickets, like it's radio silence. No clients coming in, nothing's happening. And that sucks. Okay, so that's not a good position you want to be in. But what happens if we're using effective marketing and it's sporadic? So you have a bit of a system, but it's not consistent. Well, what happens there is we get a bit of a trickle. It's almost like you've got a faucet that's kind of on, but not really, and it's trickling drops of water. So it's not fully turned on, not fully turned off, and you're getting some action, but it could be better if it was more consistent. Does that make sense? Let's go to the top left. If we have consistent marketing, but it's ineffective, so essentially here we're climbing the wrong ladder, we're doing a lot of things consistently, but not really yielding much result, what ends up happening here is burnout. And this is very common. This is what I ran into when I was running my business online for the first couple of years. I was doing a lot of stuff. I was consistent, but consistently doing ineffective things. And I was burnt out. And I was like, there's got to be a better way than this. And it was just super frustrating. But here's the good news is that if you do something consistent that is effective, then what ends up happening is it brings in a flood of clients, a flood of leads, a flood of good stuff into your life as a result of obviously adding good stuff to other people's lives. Okay? So let's look at a couple of the nuances here. When I say crickets, like if we look at the bottom left, now obviously this is an area we want to avoid. Okay, we don't want to be here because it obviously doesn't make sense. So how do we end up here? Well, it's by doing things like content marketing, SEO, and podcasting. Now, I want to be very clear about something. I have a podcast. It's really good. I enjoy it. Does it get 1 million downloads? No, it doesn't. Does my business depend on my podcast? No, it doesn't, because if it did, I would be out of business in no time. It's something I can do now. I have the luxury of doing now that our business generates a lot of money and a lot of value for our clients. But if you are building a business based on content marketing, like blogging, YouTube, etc., or you're relying on SEO to get found in Google, or you're podcasting, the likelihood of you getting any results from that in the next couple months or even a year to two is slim to none. And that's going to lead to crickets. Okay? Now, the trickle is going to be a combination of what we'll talk about in a second. But if we look at burnout, burnout is simply doing everything. So everything we just talked about, the content marketing, everything you can think of, book marketing, summits, YouTube, speaking at events, lunch and learns, posting flyers at Starbucks, knocking on people's doors, doing everything will lead to burnout. It's consistent, but it's consistently the wrong stuff to do. So what we want to do instead, and this is what I'm going to introduce to you in our new program called First Client Formula, is we want to use a very specific type of what I call social content. And the reason we're going to do this is because, listen, you can't run ads, right? So you have to be doing things on social media that naturally is a little bit better in terms of visibility than if you did stuff on a blog on Google. Now, Facebook and Instagram have told us that organic reach is down dramatically, and there are ways to circumvent that, which I'm going to show you how to do inside the new program called First Client Formula, which, by the way, you can get on the pre-sale list if you haven't already at the link somewhere around this video. But the key is that when you do this properly, and this is the nice thing, and this is actually how we filled our first handful of events, was by doing this type of stuff in this quadrant. And if you're unsure of what this looks like, or you're worried about, oh my God, I'm going to spend all my time on social media, the reality is that you have no other choice, all right? So let's just be very honest about that. But it's about what you do on social media that is going to make all the difference. Now, social media, email, we're going to combine both of those to bring you a flood of new leads and clients with zero ad spend, zero money on SEO, zero tech, like nothing. You don't even need a platform like ClickFunnels. You don't need any of that stuff. You don't even need a signature program. You just need to be able to help someone with their health or fitness. If you can do that, then what I'm going to walk you through over the next couple of days and inside the First Client Formula is going to help you bring in a flood of new clients so that you can generate however much money you want to make based on your own time and energy. But again, we're going to do things the right way so that you're not burning out. We're not burning out. We're going to get a flood of clients in within, an appreciable amount of time. And I'm not saying, again, 24 hours a day online. That's not what we're talking about. But the time you are spending online, because you have to spend time building your business anyways, we're going to do the right things, the smart things that are going to move the needle the most, the small hinges that swing big doors. That's what we're going to focus on. And the beautiful part, as I just mentioned, is it requires zero spent money. Okay? So if we go back up to the graph, we're going to be relying on time and energy the right way so that we don't have to rely on money, and we can help you build your money reserves over time so that down the road you have a lot more money in your business and you can start to scale and systemize and now leverage yourself better. But for now, we got to start from ground zero. And from ground zero, we have to do the right thing so that we get a flood instead of crickets, and we get a flood instead of a trickle, and we get a flood instead of burning out. Does that make sense? So listen, this is just the first video I wanted to share with you. I gotta go actually pick up my kids now, but I'll actually be sharing another video with you this week about what this looks like. And I'm gonna show you how it all comes together and exactly the framework we're gonna use to get you those clients. Does that make sense? So stay tuned to your email or to the group. Make sure you're on the pre-sale list. The link is somewhere around here, healthprenneurgroup.com/FCF. I'll be sharing the link for the next video coming up shortly in the next day or two. And in the meantime, I hope this makes sense for you. Again, I want you to think about this. I want you to think about this with what you're doing. And I want you to really ask yourself, where am I in these 4 quadrants? My bet is that you're in 1, 2, or 3. And very few people are living in 4, but you will be very shortly. Does that make sense? So I will see you in the next video. Let me know your thoughts about this in the comments below. And if you're not on the pre-sale list, get on the pre-sale list now. You'll be first of line, 51% off the regular price of First Client Formula when it comes out on Monday, July 1st. And for now, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll see you soon.